In this video, we're visiting a small family cemetery in the woods in Maine. Its last burial was 108 years ago, and over the past century, nature's been reclaiming it. So we're visiting Bowdoinham, a town in Maine's Mid-Coast region, in Saginaw County. Our target cemetery is beyond the village of Bowdoinham, at the confluence of the Kennebec River and Merry Meeting Bay.
What's up, gamers?
You're rambling is what you're doing.
I know, I'm trying to make it all interesting.
Yeah.
Alright. I gotta turn this off. Alright, hey everybody, it's James. I'm here in Bowdoinham, Maine. I'm doing some field work while I'm on vacation, and I'm at the house of my friend Colin. Colin? So we're doing some scouting in the woods near his house and looking for an old family cemetery plot, and we're going to take some photographs, we're going to do some research, and we're going to document the site.
Though the graves aren't too far from the homestead or the nearby road, because of a pond in our way, we have to take a long detour through the woods. By our count, we could find 6 tombstones dating between 1860 and 1911. There may be more, though, because the nearby homestead is more than 2 centuries old. And there's also a big empty space of land in the front of the cemetery.
Oh, woodpecker. If we set it around... So I've got it set for 360, take a picture like that, and then for the preview, so this gives me a panorama, but everything is squished at the top and bottom. But if we do 360, suddenly we can look all the way around. So here's the cemetery, and you can see the environment, you can see the terrain. And I also have an app on the phone that will let me scan the objects themselves individually. So if you walk around, say this is a tombstone, you can walk around and it'll stitch the picture together into a 360.
Nice.
So I'm going to go get my other camera, and we'll set some stuff up. So we have a problem where the GPS camera that I brought, all of the batteries have run out of juice. And it's unfortunate because that camera has a compass built into it, and I was going to do an experiment with older Christian New England cemeteries. Most people are buried with their feet facing the east, where the sun rises. And I wanted to see, I know beyond this cemetery, in the direction that I'm facing, is the east. So I don't know how far to the east, like, is east that way true east, or is true east that way? So I wanted to be able to line everything up to see, does it line up with true east, with the rising of the sun on the summer solstice, or on the winter solstice? With all the great religious traditions, there's a lot of geomancy that's involved. So with what I usually focus on are shrines and tombs in Taiwan, where with a Taoist concept of feng shui, you would line everything up with the landscape and with the bodies of water, and you would also line things up based on cosmology. Positions related to your death date, for example. In the Muslim world, everybody is buried on their side so that their face or their head is turned so that they can face Mecca. So you'll see alignments in different cemeteries for different reasons. And with Christian cemeteries, you should see the feet facing to the east. That way, on the day of the resurrection of the dead, you can sit up in your grave, and when you sit up, you're sitting up facing east. You see the rising sun on the day of the resurrection when Jesus comes. So it's a little bit of Christian cosmology that I wanted to test out, but unless we have a compass, and I didn't bring a traditional compass, I only thought to use compasses that are built into the camera. So I can't quite tell right now, which is a little bit of a problem.
Luckily, Colin had a compass app on his phone for us to check out.
Like, if you just put it flush up against here. I really got to figure out which cameras I'm using for what, because this is getting ridiculous. Wait, I need this to record us holding the two phones together. I can't put it on that.
I had a Planisphere app on my phone, but due to technical reasons, I just couldn't figure out what the hell I was doing with it. We found that all of these tombs were aligned to the rising position of the sun on the fall equinox, roughly around September 21st or 22nd. First, we had to add 180 degrees to Colin's measurements to get mine. Voila! The green line is the horizon to the east. The red line is the sun's arc through the sky during the fall equinox.
So I'll show you something else. If you look at these types of tombstones, you'll see a big tombstone and you'll see a small one. And what we used to assume whenever we would visit this cemetery was maybe this was a baby. But what it actually is the footstone. So this should have been placed over there when the body was initially buried. So this belongs to, who is this? Wife of Noble Preble. So what we see is RP. So these are their initials. And so these would be facing, this stone would actually be turned the other direction, 180 degrees, and placed behind the feet. That way you would have the headstone and the footstone, and the person would be cradled in it. One thing that started to happen as people started to develop machines, tractors, lawnmowers, it was very difficult to maintain the land around a grave if you had so many stones. So what they would do is, at some point in the 20th century, they would pull these out and put them down either back to or right next to the headstone. That way it would be easier to take a machine back and forth. So it's a little bit of history, a little bit of cosmology all wrapped together, and then you have modern technology that triumphs over the ways of doing things 100 years ago for the dead. So just a little interesting fact. And so, is this another one here?
Yep.
This may be the top of that, right?
Yeah, that looks like the broken off. Oh, no, that does not belong to that.
Oh, that belongs to this.
Yeah. Oh, I think it says Hattie Preble.
Hattie.
Yep.
Okay. So, that could be a B. But this is Hattie down here that you just cleaned off.
Yep.
So Hattie, Hattie, which belongs to this tomb that I was talking about. So a little bit of a mystery. Hattie may have been a nickname, potentially, or a middle name.
I think that's probably her name.
We have this RP or BP, which is kind of interesting. Oh, here it is. Rebecca.
Yep.
So, Rebecca Preble. So that would be her footstone. Because this used to be sitting up here. So she's below us right here. And now that makes sense, because the one right behind you here with the flag, I think Harvey Preble is this one? He has his footstone on the other side of Hattie's.
Okay, so I may have jumped the gun a little bit when I was looking at the footstones, but we did find a lot of cool metadata, especially some hidden cosmology. Alright, I guess I can stop that now. By doing this kind of field work, we can preserve a little bit of our past and understand where we've come from. We forgot to do scans of each tombstone during this trip, so I'm sure we're going to return to get more data. and probably figure out what's going on with that big empty space in the front. I'll see you next time.